Good day everyone, I am Victor, moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is COTS Cloud and SaaS System and FDA Validation Compliance. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Caroline Troiano. Caroline Troiano has more than 35 years of experience in computer system validation and compliance in the pharmaceutical, medical device, tobacco, and other FDA regulated industries. She is an independent consultant with more than 2 decades of experience working in pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Caroline.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Carolyn Troiano, and we're going to be talking about COTS, computer off-the-shelf software, cloud computing, and FDA-regulated system validation approaches. Thanks for joining. We'll cover what we mean by GXP or FDA-regulated systems. We'll give a little background on regulatory oversight. Then we'll get into Part 11 overview and compliance, data integrity, computer system validation, and computer software assurance, CSA. The draft guidance issued by FDA in September of 2022. We'll compare CSV, the traditional approach to validation, to computer software assurance. Then we'll cover validation planning, requirements, testing, traceability, other documentation to support the validation effort. And then we'll get into COTS software, cloud systems, software as a service, SaaS, infrastructure as a service, IaaS, platform as a service, PaaS. And cover maintenance and support to keep your system in a validated state. And then we'll go into some regulatory trends and industry best practices. So everything starts with GXP, where X is a variable. Then the system is GXP. It's an FDA-regulated system that must be validated and maintained in a validated state throughout the system's life. These are just examples of FDA-regulated systems, and the FDA operates on some key premises to keep in mind. And just to give some idea of FDA-regulated warning letters. Now, COVID and FDA inspections, you have to focus on data integrity, product quality, and customer safety. Now, Part 11. Now, Part 11 is a law ensuring organizations will define their own criteria. And we can see here, if you list the attributes. So the guidance came out in 97. In the 90s, every company wanted to go paperless. They wanted to use electronic record and signature capability. In 2003, they issued a clarification scope and application document. So quality and compliance have to be built into all your programs, leading to inspection readiness. So these are the features, some of the features that the vendors say make their system Part 11 compliant. You have to have assurances for audit trail functionality. With the audit trail, you know who did what action. With a date and timestamp, normally those are synchronized with Meridian or International Standard Time. There have to be clearly defined separate roles, independence for who is creating, reviewing, and approving. With security, encryption should be done and a firewall when data is transferred. There has to be a full backup recovery system to protect against data loss. With change control, you want to maintain data integrity. Training has to be given to multiple stakeholders. And there are 3 operating procedures. With the system administration and configuration, you're defining the system settings for setup and security administration. User administration and management is for creating user accounts or account types. And these are some questions you can ask if you're going to be audited. Now, the areas most at risk during inspection are testing and validation. It must be validated. It's a GXP system. Documentation must include that risk assessment, and violations can cause problems. Well, what is data integrity? It's complete, consistent, accurate data, but it's more than that. And so you have to make sure your data is ALCOA plus, ALCOA plus. And just like we showed for Part 11, you can simply do an ALCOA plus. So data integrity guidance came out in 2018. And again, the common deficiencies, there's unauthorized access allowed, changes to data. So you want to make sure your software and hardware are suitable to perform the task required by the user. Now, the FDA guidance for validation came out way back in 1983, and there were two other requirements. Now, the SDLC just gives you a framework. And the SDLC methodology has key elements. You'll do an installation qualification. Now, here's a GAMP 5V model, but it's a very document-centric waterfall methodology. Industry before that was focused on a compliance mindset. So when FDA is modernizing their own life science industries, so CSA is different from CSV. CSV starts with documentation, testing, QA, critical thinking. How do you think critically? In some cases, a simple test may be appropriate if it's a low-risk requirement. So an agile methodology. Again, many people tried to force fit the waterfall deliverables into an agile. So GAMP 5 has the V model, the waterfall approach. So you need a strategic approach that you're going to follow. So the first step is the validation plan. And there's a risk-based approach to compliant GXP computer systems. So category of software and a risk-based approach. And you have to have a standard risk methodology. A system could fail in many different and unrelated ways. But what you come up with is a set of risk scenarios at the very high level, the extreme high business requirements. And there are many sources of requirements. So the non-functional requirements, non-functional system requirements. And then testing, it's just your IQ, OQ, and PQ. Anyone can write a PQ. When you test, you must follow up on all defects. And when you're done, then the requirements traceability matrix should be prepared. And then validation summary report, the GXP system inventory, COTS software. So this is traditional on-premise commercial off-the-shelf. So COTS, configurable commercial off-the-shelf software. So the main compliance-related purpose of validation is to make sure you have accuracy of data and integrity of data. Now, FDA last updated the guidance in 2003 and automated testing. A lot of misconceptions. With cloud, these are virtualized servers distributed over the internet. If you have a cloud or SaaS vendor, you want to make sure as part of your IQ. And again, installation qualification, it's going to be different for on-premise and cloud, maintaining the system in a validated state. Data integrity, privacy is also something that you have to pay attention to. With cloud computing, like software as a service, a lot of advantages. But cloud and SaaS benefits are great, but there are some risks. The MHRA guidance from 2018, and there are different phases of the life cycle. Platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, these are just other options. When you maintain your system, you have to have all the things in place. When you're looking at the vendor, you want the viability of the company. Make sure there's assigned responsibility and accountability. A lot of factors that affect regulatory approach. Just a list of factors that affect how FDA scrutinizes things. Industry best practices. Make sure that your results, if they are approved, identify policy procedure deficiencies, validate consistently, make sure you assess potential risk, that if it's the vendor, they test it every 2 years. So that concludes our presentation. And so be clear that what you're doing, it's very obvious why you're doing it. Critical thinking is the most important tool you can use. So keep in mind, you are in control. You have to interpret what they're asking you for and then figure out the best way to provide it.
Thank you, Caroline. So that does conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day ahead.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.